I'd like to bring this meeting of the Forward Pinellas Board to order, please. And without further ado, if we could please stand for the invocation and pledge led by Councilwoman Gina Driscoll.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. If you'll please join me in prayer, if that is your custom. Lord, we begin by thanking you for this beautiful day that you have given to us. We are full of thanks and praise for all that you have provided here for us on earth. Lord, today there are many people across our globe who are suffering from injustice, war, and poverty. Please, please hold them in the palm of your hand and guide us towards peace and grace to reflect your love for us. We humbly ask for your blessing upon us here today as we do this work for our communities so that we can reflect your grace and your wisdom through the work that we do. We know that your supreme wisdom on our activities will be a way for us to serve others and to serve you through that work. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Tina, do we have any citizens to be heard today?
Madam Chair, do you wish to do introductions first?
Well, yes, we can. Shall we start over here with Counselor, hello? Floyd. Do you want to introduce yourself and state your name, please?
I'm Councilmember Richie Floyd, District 8, St. Petersburg.
Thank you.
Councilor Chris Burke, City of Seminole, representing the inland communities.
Welcome.
I'm Vice Mayor Patty Reed, and I represent the wonderful city of Pinellas Park.
I'm Brian Scott, Pinellas County Commissioner, District 2.
Julie Warbajolski, Mayor of the great city of Dunedin.
I'm Whit Blanton, the Executive Director of Ford Pinellas.
Dave Albritton, Clearwater City Council.
Dave Eggers, Pinellas County Commission.
David Will, Mayor, Reddington Beach, representing the beach communities.
Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council member, and today representing PSTA.
Jared Buckman, City Council, City of Oldsmar, representing Oldsmar, Tarpon Springs, and Safety Harbor.
Thank you, everyone, and I am Janet Long, your board chair this year and chair of Forward Pinellas. So welcome, everyone, and without further ado, now can we do citizens to be heard, please?
Madam Chair, we have David Ballard Geddes Jr. here to speak.
Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live at 802 Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Using pretended legislation, let's create a candid world, and with it, let's design a long train of usurpations, destruction, perfidy, and death, as written in the Declaration of Independence. Simultaneously, let's assail a ship of war during peacetime in Article 1, Section 10. Let's set out to capture both land and water in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11, as enumerated from Article 1, Section 2. Pinellas County Home Rule Charter, Section 2.01 and Section 5.02 recognizes such enumeration, and hypocritically, let's use this Constitution as a bill of attainder, as a letter of marque, as a form of reprisal. Chimerically, let's use inverted logic and flawed political ways and means and eat the subsistence of the land aggregating, simply bankrupting the water supply, and assume separate but equal stations among the powers of the earth naturally as declared, intending on controlling the will of man in Federalist Paper number 79, taking liberty, property, and life claimed as due process of naturalizing unwarranted water jurisdictions under the 14th Amendment, ill-defined constitutionally as a district not exceeding 10 miles square, as enumerated, as a way of legislatively moving the county forward, attempting to make novel refinements on an erroneous theory as based on Federalist Paper number 9 to support ill-willed, obnoxious, factious individuals who are hoping to keep afloat such conflagrated warship, birthing such a ship of war in the 14th Amendment, capricious and rebellious in nature as enumerated in support of despotic water jurisdictions as encompassed, using water as its Second Amendment weapon of choice, directly taxing the civilian population, hoping to soldier the residents in their homes as based on Section 1.13 of Maloney's Water Code, waylaying our consent under the Third Amendment, using the Reclaimed Water Variance application to take our health, our safety, and our religious convictions. The simple nature of this government is in question. We have some very big constitutional issues regarding water, and I'm tired. I've been doing this a long time. It's time we talk about these issues, and it's time we table the 14th Amendment for what it really says. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now we are on consent. Does anyone have anything they want to pull from consent? Anybody? May I have a motion?
Move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we need a roll call, Tina?
No, Madam Chair, but for the record, there are no citizens wishing to be heard on the consent agenda either.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay? It has been approved unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our public hearing items, and the first one is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, WIT.
Welcome Kelsey Olinger from FDOT. Thank you. Welcome, Kelsey.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, board members. My name is Kelsey Olinger with Patel Green and Associates, representing the Florida Department of Transportation. I'll be going over two separate amendments today. The projects are 449398-1 and 452672-1 to be amended into your transportation improvement program this afternoon. The first project is for the addition of funds for the construction phase of a project at SR 60 Gulf to Bay Boulevard at Old Coachman Road in the amount of just over $500,000. The project includes the reconstruction of the at-grade crossing of the Pinellas Trail Loop across SR 60 Gulf to Bay. The second project is for the addition of funds for the construction phase of a project along the Pinellas Loop Trail in the amount of $241,000. This project will help to add wayfinding signage to the Loop Trail, with wayfinding locations to be determined by Ford Pinellas staff. These two amendments do not affect any other projects that are within the current Ford Pinellas TIP. I can answer any questions you have at this time.
Questions? Anyone? Comments? Concerns? Seeing none? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then just one quick reminder I wanted to mention about the tentative work program public hearing that we have coming up. It does fall before the next board meeting. It's between October 23rd to October 27th is the online public hearing. So if you have any comments at that time, feel free to make that known. The MPO objections are due on November 20th, and public comments are due on November 13th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kelsey and board members, we will push out that information on the public hearing.
Move approval on the proposed amendments.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
I think it's a,
For TIP amendments, it does require a roll call vote, and additionally, there are no citizens wishing to be heard on this matter. Mayor Bujalski, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott? Aye. Vice Mayor Reed? Aye. Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Floyd? Aye. Councilmember Buckman?
Aye.
Councilmember Driscoll?
Aye.
Mayor Will?
Yes.
Commissioner Eggers,
Aye.
Councilmember Albritton,
Aye.
and Commissioner Long.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
All right, and the next item is the Pinellas Planning Council. Miss Emma, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have one countywide plan map amendment case to be heard today, coming from Pinellas County. So the subject property is 171.6 acres, more or less, generally bounded by 68th Avenue North to the north, 45th Street North to the west, 44th Avenue North to the south, and 24th Street North to the east. Existing countywide plan map categories: we have residential low medium, residential medium, office, public, semi-public, retail and services, employment, and a target employment center. And it is proposed for multimodal corridor and target employment center. Proposed uses include residential, lodging, office, retail, commercial, automotive, industrial, manufacturing, civil support, civic, and recreation. This is an image just showing where the subject area is generally located on our county map, and as well as what the jurisdiction that it is in, which is unincorporated Leomin community. Just an aerial view of the overall amendment area. As you can see, it is surrounded by some residential. It is a large property, so we have kind of retail commercial scattered throughout as well. So some background and context. The Leomin Community Redevelopment Area Plan was adopted by the board in 2016 and amended in 2019. The plan does include various implementation recommendations for improvement within the Leomin community. One such recommendation improvement includes the adoption of the Leomin form-based code, which is what's bringing forward this amendment today. So through this, they are proposing 3 new designations. As you can see in this graphic here, kind of breaks them down a little bit more for you. So the 3 designations are mixed-use corridor supporting neighborhood park, mixed-use corridor supporting local trade, and mixed-use corridor primary commerce. And the adoption of these is what's bringing forward the multimodal corridor map amendment. And just wanting to note that they are planning to apply a floor area ratio in lieu of residential density calculations, which is intended to incentivize residential and mixed-use projects. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of that here. So the first category, this is a depiction of the mixed-use corridor supporting local trade. So it is along a supporting corridor on our countywide plan map. So they're proposing a maximum floor area ratio of 1 for non-residential uses, and then it would go to a 1.5 if residential is incorporated. And that is below our countywide standards for supporting multimodal corridor, which is 2.5. And this is the same. It is, again, a supporting corridor subcategory, and this is for the mixed-use corridor supporting neighborhood park. And again, it's a maximum floor area ratio of 1 for non-residential uses and 1.5 with residential, and again, below our 2.5 standards. And then the last is the mixed-use corridor primary commerce. So this one has a primary corridor subcategory on the countywide map. So the maximum floor area ratio they are proposing is a 1.2 for non-residential uses, and then maximum would be 2 with residential, which again is below the 3.5. So this is just showing the change in designation on the countywide plan map. It would go entirely to multimodal corridor. Tier 3 amendment. So this request is coming forward as a Tier 3 amendment because they included automobile-oriented retail commercial use. And they did provide the required justification narrative, and just in summary, the uses do exist today in this area, and they provide employment opportunities and are used by Leland residents, and so they had to continue to be permitted, and not including them in the request would have made them non-conforming, so they were included. Additionally, allowing these uses does not prevent the ability to establish a multimodal corridor or diminish the relevance of transit, nor would it have an adverse impact on the overall goal of fostering pedestrian-friendly, mixed-use, transit-oriented corridors. Additionally, there is that small purple section included in the boundary, and that is 3.25 acres of employment that would be converted to multimodal corridor. And the form-based code will support the potential for employment and industrial-related land uses in recognition of both the character and needs of the area. Therefore, while there is a small conversion of employment, the ability to continue to develop employment and industrial-related uses would not be significantly reduced. So because the application is proposing an expansion to the multimodal corridor category, the applicant was required to provide an evaluation addressing the 6 planning and urban design principles within the countywide rules. So I did just summarize how they addressed all 6 of these. So location, size, density, and intensity standards. The area is located along important urban corridors, which will allow for a wide mix of land uses and densities that could support a mass of people. Connectivity. There is high connectivity through the street grid system with goals to establish pedestrian-friendly mixed-use buildings. Site orientation, there are specific requirements outlined to maximize the building facade lengths and orient parking in the rear of buildings, not along property frontages. Public realm enhancement, the form-based code does encourage the utilization of building frontages between facades and public right-of-ways. Ground floor design, it also specifically outlines minimum ground floor building heights for non-residential ground floor uses and minimum first floor elevation requirements for residential. Transition to neighborhoods, there are step-down requirements in the form-based code, basically saying that the residential is maintained on the outskirts and then buildings will have a step-down when immediately adjacent to a residential parcel, in addition to additional screening requirements. So overall, we feel the surrounding area is consistent with the locational characteristics for the proposed category. The multimodal corridor category and the target employment center overlay would be appropriate for the proposed uses. And the amendment area does involve the expansion of multimodal corridor. However, the applicant has provided adequate justification and evaluation of the countywide planning strategies and urban design principles. So we recommend approval. And at this time, I will open it for questions. And we do have a representative from the county here available to give a presentation if you guys would like of his own, but we'll leave that up to you if you feel the need to see another.
Yeah, I just, my understanding is that the local CRA advisory committee has gotten public input and has weighed in on this plan and is supportive of this plan. Just making sure.
Yes.
Thank
We
you.
have not received any public opposition for Pinellas either.
But that group has weighed in. the CRA Advisory Committee.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Can we confirm that?
Yep.
That was my understanding as well.
Yeah, of course.
Good afternoon, Scott Swearingen, Long Range Planning Manager for Pinellas County. Yes, that's correct, Commissioner Eggers. We have actually, for the past 2 years, we have worked very closely with the Citizen Advisory Committee for the CRA. We've attended nearly all their meetings and have sort of kept them abreast of the changes that were being proposed and taking their input as well. They, at one of their regularly scheduled public meetings, they did place a vote in support of the changes that we are proposing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Questions or concerns? Anybody? No?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please.
Is that a roll call?
For the record, there's no citizens wishing to be heard on this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have, everyone here has voted. You voted.
Yes, aye.
David?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are all on the same page here. And the presentation and/or action items, number 6, PSTA Activities Report. Gina?
Thank you. The PSTA board met last on September 27th, 2023. This was a combo meeting. We had the second public hearing for the budget, and the board adopted 2 resolutions to approve the FY24 final millage rate and the FY24 final budget. And with these votes, PSTA avoids the majority of the service reductions that had been presented to the public. Minor modifications will be made to 3 routes, and 2 of the lowest performing routes will be eliminated. Alternatives to these routes will be communicated to the public as they're implemented. Also, this week, I had the pleasure of joining the PSTA team in Orlando for the annual conference of the American Public Transportation Association, where PSTA was awarded the Outstanding Transit System of the Year for mid-size agencies, and I was able to join Brad Miller to accept that award. They won an award for marketing category as well, and we have a couple of their staff members who were graduating from professional development and leadership programs. So it was a very celebratory visit. I also had the pleasure of serving on a panel discussion with the mayor of Nashville, the mayor of Vancouver, Washington, which is near Portland, and also the president of Amtrak to talk about what ways that our community is working on public transportation, and how a strong transportation system and balanced mobility options are so critical to our future. That was very enjoyable. I'm very happy that Commissioner Long, Chair Long was able to join us as well, and thank you for joining us for part of that too. It was really quite impressive to see how respected PSTA is from people around the country who are working in public transportation day in and day out. It really gave me a great sense of just how much that organization does for our community and really sets the standard for others. So it was a great experience, and I'm very, very proud to be serving on that board. So I wanted to tell you guys about that. I just got back yesterday, and it was very exciting. So that's all I have. The next board meeting is coming up on October 25th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you for talking about the experience at APTA, because I, too, was very, very proud of our agency, and it was amazing to me. And I've attended that conference for the last 5 years in a row, and the opportunity for learning what's going on in the new and emerging technologies as it relates to public transit and public transportation options are incredible. And so, and it was nice to see Commissioner Scott's beautiful buses there on display. They're gorgeous, and they really stand out in terms of how they're branded and the colors and all. So I was very proud to see that as well. You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
it's
you.
nice to be recognized, but when it's by the entire country, that's an extra special thing for sure. Okay, so next is the regional activities report. Whit?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep this fairly brief because we have another item relating to that on the agenda. I did want to let folks know that we had the Transportation Management Area Leadership Group meeting on September 23rd, where the TMA Leadership Group, consisting of the MPOs of Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas, recommended approval of the Memorandum of Understanding to create a regional MPO for Tampa Bay. That's another item on your agenda, but we had good discussion at that meeting. The only change they made to the MOU at that meeting was to remove some language that the City of Tampa had added, which would have given the opportunity for the largest cities in each county to weigh in on the MOU. And the City of Tampa already has that in federal legislation concerning metropolitan planning organizations. And the Pasco representatives were uncertain about giving that same level of authority to one of the smaller communities incorporated in Pasco County, and also felt like even giving St. Petersburg that same ability was characterized as why would we add more roadblocks to this? So that was the tenor of the discussion. We presented some scenarios of a range of costs for what this regional MPO might entail. These were scenarios that looked at different frameworks for how the organization could be structured, whether it was hosted by a local government or whether it was an independent metropolitan planning organization such as MetroPlan Orlando. You all got a little preview of that at your September meeting, so it wasn't anything different than what we presented then. I don't think the TMA leadership group was ready to have that conversation, which is fine. It's a few years down the road that we can really delve into that, but we have to submit costs with the report that we need to submit by the end of the year, so I felt like I had to get it on their radar screen. We will have another TMA leadership group meeting on December 1st, and the report will be in draft form by that time, and I'll bring that back and they'll see how we're presenting that information at that time. Overall, it was a productive discussion, I thought. The other thing I wanted to mention, in terms of regionally significant projects, I'm very pleased, if you haven't seen the news, to announce that the Florida Department of Transportation has awarded construction funding for I-275 between 4th Street North and 38th Avenue North. This is a very important project for us. It's long been a priority of this MPO. I can't tell you how many years it's been a priority. Chelsea probably could, but it goes back more than a decade. This is not the full project. There is a piece that's under design that goes south to 54th Avenue South, and we're hopeful that the next phase could be funding for the express lanes to 375. But for now, the express lanes coming off the Howard Franklin Bridge will tie in at 38th Avenue North, and that's really the area today that has the most significant congestion on I-275, at least whenever I drive it. So we're happy about this and happy that it's being moved in the FY25 year for construction. That's July 1st of next year, so that's pretty soon. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I've been invited and have agreed to attend a tour of the Brightline facilities in Miami and West Palm and Orlando. I'm going with a delegation of the Tampa Bay Partnership and the City of Tampa. And I'm not sure how I got singled out, but I think I'm the only person from Pinellas County going. And I'm looking forward to it. It's on November 6th. We're going to fly down to Miami, and then we will take Brightline. We'll do a tour of the Miami station, take Brightline to West Palm, and then Orlando. And then I have a conference in Orlando, so I'm going to stay in Orlando, and they're coming back by bus. Someday, maybe they'll come back by Brightline at some point in the future. But I'm looking forward to that, and I'll report back to the board in November what that's like. I'll take lots of pictures. Any questions for me? All right.
You'll enjoy that, Whit. I've taken that tour before, and it's fascinating.
Okay.
You'll learn a lot. maybe bring back some ideas for us.
I'll do my best.
There you go. And just to add to Whit's report, for your edification and so that you know when we get to that, which is next after Skinner Boulevard, the Hillsborough Regional MPO unanimously approved the regional MPO model. And so I thought that was informative and that you all ought to know that before we get to that discussion. They did that this morning, by the way. The Skinner Boulevard update, FDOT. Good afternoon. Hi.
Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Hunter with the Florida Department of Transportation. Today I'm going to give a quick update on the Skinner Boulevard project. This is one of those projects that really had a whole bunch of people come together to make it happen. The city of Dunedin was a critical partner in this, as well as Ford Pinellas, and not only in the planning and execution of it, but also the funding, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But the project is a complete streets project that's on 580 Skinner Boulevard that goes from alternate 19 to Main Street. And these are the project limits here. In June, we held a public meeting for the project. It was in person and virtual. We held it at the City Hall of Dunedin. Thank you very much for hosting us. And we got a lot of positive feedback on the project. So what is the project and what is a complete streets? A lot of this is probably going to be old news for you guys, but I'll just go over it really quickly. But these are the three components of a complete streets. And the way that I like to describe it is we look at the context of the road, what is the function of that road, as well as what is the land use and context of the community that that road goes through. And we try and provide the highest quality of service for the people who use that road and live around it. And so in this case, it's a very pedestrian-oriented area that really was begging for more space for pedestrians, slowing the traffic down, and creating opportunities for economic development out there. And so this is what the typical section of the roadway is going to look like on Skinner Boulevard. This is one of the typical sections. There are multiple along this area, but this is pretty much what they all look like. We're going to have a 10-foot sidewalk on both sides, a 7-foot bike lane in both directions, a 12-foot travel lane, and then in one direction we're going to have some on-street parking. We're also going to have a raised median, and we're going to be putting two roundabouts, one at Douglas Avenue and one at Highland Avenue. And these will have the pedestrian accommodations at them as well. And the reason that we prefer roundabouts in this type of environment is because it reduces the conflict points and also injuries when there are crashes. So traditional intersection has 32 conflict points and a roundabout has 8. And most of the time they are, if there is an accident, it's more of a side swipe rather than a T-bone type of crash. And so it reduces injuries as well as pedestrian crashes. The project schedule for this one, we've completed the planning and gotten our community input, and we are finalizing the design on that. And later on this year, we will go into get approval for those plans and then construction probably around June of next year, and it'll take a couple of years to complete that construction. And when I was talking about the partnership here, there were a lot of moving pieces to getting this project funded. The MPO has the Complete Streets project or program. This is one of the projects that was awarded funding for that. Also, the city of Dunedin put in a majority of the funding to get this project done. And then there's a new federal program, which is the Carbon Reduction Program, which looks at reducing emissions. And so this project was a perfect fit for that with the roundabouts and also the alternative transportation options that it'll provide. So we were able to utilize some of that funding to fill in the gap and completely fund this project. And please, everybody remember that drive down or slow down and drive safe. Share the road with all users on that roadway. This is the contact information for our department projects manager. So if you have any specific design questions, I will probably end up having to refer them to her, but any of the more general questions, I'll be more than happy to take.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and I might mix in both types of questions, so.
All right.
We have to get, I'm sure you can handle all of them.
I hope so.
So first of all, could you just tell me briefly the breakdown on the costs of the three partners, of what they actually paying?
I believe the MPO directed funds was about 1.5 million. The carbon reduction funds is 1.3 million. And I believe the city of Dunedin was somewhere in the $2.5 million range.
It's more than that.
Is it more than that?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole project is 7.5, 8 million, something like that.
So if that's the case, the city of
Yeah.
Dunedin somewhere around 4.5,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range.
For sure.
Great, thank you. Thank
Plus there's undergrounding, which is not part of your thing, but that the city is also paying for.
Yeah.
Along the corridor.
In addition to that, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
in addition.
So just a few questions, and I think that you were trying to answer it. I have just a couple of concerns. One is the parallel parking that you're proposing along that intersection, or along that path there. Is there any way, first I'll say, do you have any concerns about slowing the traffic down with the parallel parking? Or is that one lane because we are reducing lanes there.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make sure that the one lane has got clear sailing and that we're not slowing down. I think the 18 feet's a little wide for that center cut, and you might be able to provide more room to just pass through there and not be conflicted with the parallel parkers. Not that there aren't people that know how to parallel park, but there are some that don't, and we don't need to be slowing the traffic. So, yeah, so there you go. There's one, and it's the mayor of the town. The second thing is the concern about the roundabout at Douglas, and I certainly like the one, I think it's at Highland, which I think is critically important. Originally, we talked about having, as you go through the trail, the dangerous part was that we had 4 lanes. Now we're going to have 2 lanes, and the conflict point where you can't see the other lane for the pedestrians is going to be gone. We had an RRFB there. We brought in a red, yellow, green light temporarily because of that conflict.
Yeah.
And now I understand that the city wants to keep the red, yellow, green, and with the roundabout. So just wondering about how that's going to work. I've seen a lot, and in fact, this morning it was backed up all the way through that intersection to get through the not so well timed lights. And so it's a problem, it's a concern, and the roundabout was really to slow traffic down for that RRFB. Now that you have a light, perhaps we don't need that one there. So just your thoughts on that. Not the first one, but the one at Douglas, and then the parallel parking.
So with the parallel parking, we don't really have any concerns about that. The speed limit is going to be lowered to 25 in the corridor. And then you have the 12-foot lane and the 7-foot bike lane that provides enough space for a vehicle to get around. We don't want to create extra asphalt out there that may have people exceed the speed limit. And so we think that it'll be fine when not create a backup situation. You could probably have 3 cars abreast in there if they were going, one was parked and slowed down enough. So you could probably get 3 across there. So there's plenty of space for one car to be backing into a spot and another car to pass it. With the traffic signal or the trail crossing, the reason we're leaving that in is a couple years ago we had a fatality at that corridor, and like you mentioned, we had tried a whole bunch of different treatments there for safe crossing. We had the RFB and the push button. We had the automatic detection that wasn't working properly, and then the push button RFB, and now we have the traffic signal. And so what our plan is to, following construction, monitor it, make sure that we're not impacting the roundabout operations. And then if we need to, we can go in and take it out. But we don't want to take it out and, reduce the safety of that without being able to see it in operation.
You answered all the engineering questions on your own. I appreciate the comments on the parallel parking. I do have concerns there, and I'll make sure that when we have issues, I call you.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
No, it's all right.
It is, a 12-foot wide lane is helpful.
Yeah.
For sure. But when you're talking about using the bike lane for the parallel parking area, that presents its own problems, that people are using it as bike lanes. I still think you could take a little bit more room from the centerpiece. The other issue on the trail, the gentleman that was killed was a trail walker. Every single day he walked, and it was really a sad situation. But he had a problem. He told me several times, you just can't see the other lane. That was the big problem. And so in fact, we talked about maybe even doing that on a temporary basis, going down to one lane each way so that we could avert that problem. Instead, we brought the red, yellow, green light in. So I do think that's a problem, and I wish you guys would take a look at that with a little bit more on-site inspection to see how it's really functioning.
Okay. Yeah, and once it's completed, we'll definitely keep
I'm
monitoring.
talking about now. I mean, you go out there now and you can see the backups. And you can just see, maybe it's just at the work hour traffic, but I'd like you to see it during the February, March timeframe when it's packed.
Okay.
Just to get a feel for what problems we're going to encounter.
Yeah, we can definitely take
Thank
a look
you.
at that and see if we need to modify something before construction.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julie. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to some of your, at least one of your concerns, Commissioner Eggers, part of the problem at Douglas, and anybody that comes out of Douglas trying to turn, let's say, left onto Skinner to head towards Alt 19, you could be sitting there for a long time because of the amount of traffic that's coming through. So even with the 2 lanes, it reduced to 2 lanes, you're still going to be sitting there. So something has to be done, A, for safe vehicle turning, like turning left. You can see people on Skinner trying to take a left onto Douglas. They're backed up. So for those 2 reasons. But then in addition, there is, on the north side now of Skinner and Douglas, a brewery is going in there. So you know there's going to be pedestrian traffic. And trying to get on, I'm more worried about the Douglas crossing than I am actually the Highland, because of, it just backs up right there, trying to turn, if you see a pedestrian trying to cross. So I think that is the purpose of the roundabout there, is to keep everything moving and not have these backups and people getting frustrated. I totally agree. It's the odd duck. So I don't disagree with you. And then in regards to the light, our entire commission and staff is really, really happy that that light is going to remain, because it has been the only thing that has prevented near calls. We have had a lot of businesses that are there, Holiday Inn, Eli's, the Bicycle Place, Woodwright. Prior to that, they were constantly sending us close call videos from their own business cameras that they would see, or that they had videoed themselves under any kind of condition. We have gotten nothing since that light went in. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not saying all of those things together are good. I'm just saying that individually, they're kind of all needed. Based on our own observation. And anybody can tell you, I am not a big fan of roundabouts. Never have been. But I'm okay with having the 2, given what I just said.
Well, we hope to change your mind.
Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Whit?
I just wanted to thank the department and all the partners for this project, and a little bit of history. We've come a long way. In 1995, I was a consultant for the MPO, and we studied Skinner, and we came up with recommendations about what to do, and the recommendation was to remove the eastbound lane to narrow it down from 2 lanes to 1 in that direction. I think the westbound was okay, and the Department of Transportation at that time said, we can't accept that because we don't want to set a precedent of reducing capacity on the state highway system. So sometimes it takes 20 years or 25 years, but they have really embraced complete streets. And I want to give a shout out to Billy Hadaway, who's in the audience. Billy was the District 1 secretary, but before that, I think you were the design director in Tallahassee, just statewide. And Billy really brought in a complete streets mindset to the department and really helped all of the districts change some of their thinking from what it was in the 1990s when highway capacity trumped everything. And now we really do look at safety for all users. And this is just a great example of a project that does that. And we get some criticism here and there for lane elimination or lane repurposing. And I just want to let the board know that we're trying to be very judicious about where we look for those opportunities. And I think we picked some really good ones so far. And I'm sure you all would tell me if you didn't think one was a good example of that. But I think Skinner is one that's been looked at. It's been confounding for a long time because of the trail. And I'm confident that we've got a good design that'll work. And maybe we can tweak it a little bit, but I'm confident that we can make it work.
Commissioner, I just want one final comment to thank FDOT. The emissions funding, carbon emission reduction funding is a new thing that we've just learned about this week at $1.3 million. We couldn't be more excited about that, and we want to thank you for your confidence in this position, in this project, and in the city of Dunedin. Thank you very, very much. We have not announced it at the city level yet. Our staff knows about it, our commission doesn't, so we're gonna announce it at our next meeting, so thank you. Grateful.
Okay, any more comments, questions, or concerns? No? All right, then we will take up the memorandum of understanding for creating a Tampa Bay Regional MPO. Whit.
Okay, I'll try to be brief on this one. You all got a preview at your September meeting, and as I mentioned, the TMA Leadership Group did recommend approval or adoption of the MOU. Just for everybody's reminder and those who may be tuning in, this does not formalize the regional metropolitan planning organization, but it puts us on a path for continued conversations and discussion to work out what that looks like. And in terms of a timeline, this is really the first major step, is to commit in writing that there is a partnership to explore a decision-making framework for transportation in the Tampa Bay area that will put us on a path to greater regional success. And I think it's important to mention that we want to retain all the good things that we're doing now at the county level for all three MPOs. And this is not an initiative to remove or take away any of those responsibilities in favor of this pure regional focus, but it's to strengthen the regional focus while also maintaining a strong local focus. And I'm very proud of the work we've done here at Ford Pinellas, and I think the other MPOs in the other two counties are proud of their efforts as well. So that's the thing that we're going to have to navigate, is how to ensure that this new organization, if it ultimately comes to pass, is able to telescope effectively at the local level and also at the regional level and deliver both. There's, I believe, ample funding in place for us to do both if we have that commitment and that will and that desire for collaboration. I am meeting tomorrow with the Pasco County Administrator just to see what questions he has and concerns, because this is an ongoing conversation. They are set to adopt the MOU tomorrow. And so we'll have all three this month, hopefully. There is one change that I need to bring to your attention that happened in the last few hours as of yesterday, and that is before you on your table in front of you. This came from the Pasco County Attorney, and we cleared it with everybody before Hillsborough voted this morning, so it was incorporated into the Hillsborough unanimous vote this morning. The attorney felt like these two clauses were a little bit conflicting. And so under Article 4, the termination language has been changed to, instead of written agreement by all the parties, it can be terminated by any party upon election with a 30-day notice. That's pretty consistent with some other agreements that we have in place that are non-binding, because again, it's really enabling us to continue to have conversations and focus on the details of how this might come about. So I did not have a big concern with that. And then the other one is striking Article 7 entirely, which talks about filing legal action and such. And the attorneys just expressed, if this is a non-binding agreement and we're committing to working together in collaboration, why would there be a need for any lawsuits? And I'm fine with that change as well. So what I'm asking is for the board to consider adopting this MOU with the changes that you have here in front of you. And there is a provision in the MOU that it can be amended from time to time. So if we need to go back and make future amendments to the MOU as work progresses, we can certainly do that. We do have another TMA meeting, as I mentioned, on December 1st. So if this board wanted to make substantive changes beyond these edits, then we would probably need to bring it back to the TMA leadership group at that time.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, well, first of all, Whit, I wanted to thank you and your team for providing not only the effort to get the MOU together, but the leadership that's been needed over the last 3 years to put a focus on a regional approach to this issue. I think it kind of puts us in sync with what the state was hoping, but we were kind of doing it on our own anyway. Really proud of that. I'm really proud of this MPO, this Forward Pinellas, for taking the initiative a couple of years ago when we remember the state challenged us to come up with a project that's the number one project in the Tampa Bay region, and we here decided that the one over on State Road 60 and I-275 interchange in Hillsborough County would be the number one project. We thought for the region that was it, and months and months later we got everybody on board, ironically Hillsborough County being the last. And then we got the money, and it stayed here. The governor we had to push it back, and now he's pushed it forward. And just really proud of the effort of this group taking that leadership role. It was interesting on the vote at the MOU that it passed with 2 dissenting votes, both being from Tampa, one from Hillsborough. So we need to, carefully monitor the city of Tampa. It's certainly like, at Tampa Bay Water, we've gone to make presentations to the City of Tampa board before just to make sure that we flush out, no pun intended, but flush out all the questions and issues that might be there, and not just the representative to Tampa Bay Water. There's only one, and there's 7 council members. Likewise, with this MOU and this TMA group that we have, there is one county commissioner that seems to not necessarily be in step with the rest of them, and the city commissioner that with council person there as well. So if they are in step, I think it's important for us to know sooner rather than later. So I think it might be a good idea to, down the road to get in front of the council and get, temperature testing there so that we're not wasting a lot of energy and time moving if Tampa's going to end up voting against it. Sure. But really excited about this. I think it's good for Pinellas County, and I think it's good for the region. So again, thank you, Whit, for your leadership.
Commissioner Eggers.
What's that?
I agree with you. I'm just saying.
I'm kidding. You do.
Chair's prerogative.
I thought we had moved past that. Shame on you. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Commissioner Eggers as well. I think this is a very positive development. And if we need a motion to approve this, I will make that motion.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 So done. Thank
So
you.
if I can, just the next steps on this. Thank you very much for that action. Hopefully we'll have Pasco's affirmative vote tomorrow. We have a report to submit. I will do my best to share that report with you, assuming it's ready at your November meeting. It may not be. I'll do my best. And then what I plan to do is submit it by the end of the year to the governor, the president, and the legislature. I don't expect the report to be very long. It might be 2 pages. It might be a letter. It might be a little bit longer. It'll reference the MOU. It'll reference the cost information that we're required to include, and it'll include as an appendix the TBARTA study of the merger of the MPOs that was done in 2018 with state funding. So we have a lot of case study background and recommendations. And then I'm going to lay low a little bit on this because I want to see what happens in the legislative session. I want to see if there's any feedback from anybody that we sent this to, any additional guidance, and then we're all adopting our long-range plan. So This is going to be a busy year on that front, and we will be looking at some sort of request for some additional funding to make sure that we set out on the right path by producing the documents that are needed for this MPO. And I want to give a shout out to Chelsea Favreau of our staff. She's done a really good job pulling together some of the costs of what a regional MPO might be once it's operational. And I do think that we are streamlining government here because we have 3 organizations and we're going to make one. But when you make one stronger organization, there is the potential that we might see, some additional costs associated with that. But it's going to be a much more streamlined and hopefully a much more business-friendly and public-friendly environment as well. But that's to be worked out. But really, the effort on this is going to get started in earnest in '25, just because of our adoption of the long-range plan. And I want to see how the reaction is to the report that I submit, just so everybody's aware. But I think once the report is submitted, then we can go around to the local governments. We can make presentations. We can get feedback from the city of Tampa, from the counties and such. But I just don't think we should be doing that until we submit the report.
Okay, anybody have anything else? No? All right. Moving on to SR, number E, SR 79 Bayway Bicycle Cycle Track. Emmett Duran from FDOT.
Madam Chair, as Emmett makes his way to the podium, I'd like to clarify for the record, there were no citizens wishing to be heard on the action on the MOU.
Thank you. We're bringing this item back to you because we had some citizen concerns a few months ago about the Pinellas Bayway cycle track. And I think it was Commissioner Eggers who requested that DOT come and give a presentation. We've bumped that out a little bit because it took a little while to get some data collected, but we're happy to have Emmett here, remind us what your title is, Emmett?
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, didn't realize microphone was that loud. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Emmett Duran. I'm the District Traffic Safety Engineer for the Florida Department of Transportation District 7. And like Whit mentioned, I'm here to talk to you all and present to you all on the recently completed resurfacing of Pinellas Bayway, specifically as it relates to the separated bicycle lanes, or more commonly known cycle track that runs along the east side of the Bayway. Right. So before I go into the details, I want to also provide a little bit of history of where this bicycle facility came from, or how it originated. Right. 2016, Fort Pinellas adopted their master plan where they identify the bicycle facilities and propose enhanced bicycle facilities for the county. In this case, Pinellas Bayway, kind of a little hard to see, but if those orange lines, the solid orange lines that you see, those were at the time existing community trails or shared use paths, asphalt paved trails. And the blue ones are bike lanes. The solid blue ones are existing bike lanes. The dash blue lines are proposed bicycle lanes, and the orange in particular, as it relates to this segment, is in that orange dash line that you see on the screen. That one is what was proposed as a community trail. The reason was, has become on the northeast to west corridor, there is a Pinellas Trail that, as a bicyclist wants to make their way into Fort DeSoto, they won't have to cross the road, cross Pinellas Bayway, and they can continue along the east side of the roadway to their destination with reduced conflicts between vehicles and bicyclists. All right. So a little bit more into zoomed-in version of this. So what you see in green on the screen, that's a paved path, shared use path, that was done as part of another project, a separate project that also included a roundabout on Madonna, if you're familiar with that area. And the green and the red line that you see there is where the new cycle track is now existing. On the right side of the screen, you see the configuration of what it used to be before. It was a 4-lane divided, 2 lanes in each direction. You had a buffer bike lane. Buffer bike lane really didn't provide any separation per se, so the safety and the risk was a little bit higher than the separated facility, like it was proposed in the master plan. So northbound and southbound, similar configuration, those buffer bike lanes that are along adjacent to the roadway. There are sidewalks along both sides of the roadway that are existing now. So on the south end of this gap, or what used to be a gap, well, what we saw was also a continuation of the paved path, right? So a bicyclist that wanted to go from the east to west corridor will have to cross the road to ride on the buffer bike lanes in a single direction. What this project, and then we go to the next one, and this is the north end. That's where you can see is that paved path that provides the multi-directional facility for a bicyclist without having to cross the road. This is along the east road, so we're facing north in this picture. And these are the new conditions. Originally, it was proposed to be a shared use path, similar to what you saw in the previous pictures. However, based on the community input and potential conflicts with some of the landscape and the community features that were out there that would have been impacted by the addition of a paved path adjacent to the right-of-way, as typically is done, DOT determined that the next best version of a multi-directional bicycle facility is a two-way cycles track. This cycle track, as you can see, provides traffic separators that provide sort of a barrier between the travel lanes and the bicyclists that are traveling in north to south. So after this bicycle facility opened, we immediately monitor the behavior of and the compliance of the bicyclists and vehicles that were at multiple intersections. Two of the intersections that we looked at, this is for the weekend. We looked at East Shores Boulevard and TR Sales Driveway. We looked at it from Friday to Sunday on both of those days. We looked at 8 hours, morning peak, afternoon peaks, and we recorded about 107 bicyclists on one intersection, and the other one was at about 120. Overall, we didn't see any conflicts between bicycles and vehicles, which is very good news. And we saw actually a very good compliance, very good yielding behavior from the drivers that were turning into and out of the side streets. You see, there's some video there that shows the bicyclists going there and the drivers. Let me see, I think this is the next one. Let me go to the next one there. And I think this is the other one. This is at an intersection. All the intersections have these green markings that helps to enhance the visibility or awareness for drivers that there is a bicyclist potentially crossing there. So overall, you see the driver yielding to the bicyclist. Bicyclists, of course, we always have to be careful when you cross the road. Don't always take it for granted. But overall, very good yielding behavior. And then we also look at it over the week. We looked at it on a Monday, following week. We look at 12 hours. This was actually on a holiday, following a holiday, I believe on the 15th of May. And we look at 12 hours. We recorded actually more activity on the weekday, about 132 bicyclists. Again, same pattern, very good behavior, very good compliance. Right, and I think that's what it shows, the driver making a left turn, and he's waiting for those bicyclists to finish crossing, and then they can proceed. All right. So kind of circle back. So what was the prior condition? What we saw before was buffer bike lanes, 4-lane undivided, very large median in the middle there, sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. What you can see now, if you ever get a chance to go and ride your bicycle for DeSoto from the Pinellas Bayway, you're seeing a two-way or multi-directional two-way bicycle facility, cycle track on the east side of the roadway. Same number of lanes. The lane width were reduced actually just about a foot or so to kind of encourage that lower speeds for drivers. And then on the west side of Pinellas Bayway, what you're seeing is a traffic separator, but only a single direction going southbound for the bicycles. And then with that, I just want to recognize that Child Passenger Safety Week was in September. And this month, we're actually celebrating Pedestrian Safety Month. So you may see some news coming out on that. But I wanted to highlight Child Passenger Safety Week to you all, if you get a chance to scan the QR code there. So this is occupational occupant protection devices like child restraining devices are an emphasis area for DOT in the Florida Strategic Highway Safety Plan. So I wanted to just use this opportunity to present this to you all and spread the word. With that, thank you, and then open up for questions if there are any.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for that presentation. I'm very familiar with that stretch of road. I had cycled that many, many times on the old design. Okay. So just a question. The FDOT's approach in a complete streets world is to minimize conflict points. And it just seems to me that while there doesn't appear to have been any accidents or anything, which is great, and hopefully that continues, but adding a two-way traffic on the one side of the street with all of those curb cuts for all the condominium complexes seems to be adding conflict points. And I understand the methodology or the thinking of trying to connect the trail, but it seems like that could have done with a flashing beacon as well, rather than adding conflict. At least it seems to me that it's adding conflict points. And to a lot of the residents down there, it seems like that's what was done. So can you just talk through that a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. So conflict points, as you mentioned, they're happening at intersections typically, what you're referring to, and there are already existing sidewalks on there. So these conflict points sort of existed already, right? Drivers, when they're coming out of the side streets, need to look left and right before entering the roadway and finalizing their turn. If we were to have kept the same configuration and just do a single direction in each side, bicyclists would have had to cross two lanes of traffic going, northbound, and then additionally, they would have to go another two other lanes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 lanes that they would have had to cross. That's 4 conflict points. Most of the side streets, you only have two lanes, one receiving lane and one entering lane on the side street. So that's 2 conflict points. So technically, in reality, there was already sidewalks. So we're not adding any additional conflict points to this. And if we were going with the approach of keeping the single direction, what you would have seen most likely is riders just riding on the wrong way on the single direction bicycle facility, which is as typical when we see a lot of these bicycle lanes, and additional conflict points having to cross multiple lanes of traffic.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. I think it's just good because I'm sure there's probably some residents watching, so just having understanding of what the thinking was behind that. So thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, I was going to ask the cyclist over here to share your. I just look at it from a theoretical standpoint because I don't drive that area at all. But 2 things come to mind. First of all, the existing condition or beforehand, when people were walking or biking down there, were they having to stop, were the bikes in the bike lane stopping at the entry points to the condominiums, or did they, like the cars, have the right of way?
Well, in this case...
No. In the original case.
In the original case,
yeah.
it was the same case.
So either way...
Either way, whoever is in the intersection first has the right of way at that time. But as a driver that's entering the intersection from the side street, they have a stop sign. So they have to stop and watch for traffic before.
So there is no stop sign before or afterwards for the people walking or biking?
No, there was not.
Okay, so I kind of agree. I think that, I don't know of any place else, I mean, it's just getting used to change.
That's
Certainly, roundabouts, we have one in Palm Harbor, seems to be working pretty well now that it's finished. But it's, you're adapting to change. But when you have those 2 sets of traffic, you're looking to, when you turn left there, for instance, and you're coming into you look to the right across the street for the cars that are coming. You don't necessarily look immediately to the right to a bike lane.
Yep.
You have to look for a pedestrian, then you have to look for a bike lane, and then you have to look for the car lane on the other side. So it's a 3 thing. And then when you're doing it the other way, you better look that way and then look back there, and there. So I understand the multiple conflict points that you're talking about, and it is different. Most people aren't used to it. So
yeah.
I appreciate the one that you showed us seems to me a problem as you're driving down, you're going to take a right there. And you think you've got enough time. I don't know who's got the right of way, the car or the bike, as they're both coming down and the car wants to take a right turn.
That would have been the bicyclist. If
Bicyclist has
by
the-
law, if they're on the crosswalk, they have the right of way, and the cars.
Right of way does, and the on-street bicyclist does too, have the right of way to the right turn lane. So that's I think that's a conflict point that's different. So I think I'll be interesting to see how it moves going forward, but I think having people get used to it is going to be the single point of challenge. So anyway, thank you. Appreciate
Anybody else? Anyone?
I do want to point out that we have a similar configuration. It's not a cycle track, but it's a two-way shared use path on Druid Road in Clearwater that was a joint city and county project, and I use that a lot. And you have to watch for the cars, and the cars have to watch both directions before pulling out into the street because it's right up against the curb.
Is it a 2-lane or 4-lane?
Druid is a 2-lane road.
Two-lane, right,
There's
yeah.
sometimes it's a center turn lane, so
Yeah.
it could widen out to 3. And then the Duke Energy Trail right by Bright House Stadium or Spectrum, Baycare Ballpark, one of those names, Baycare. That's also got conflict points with driveways, and I was actually hit by a car pulling out of that didn't look in my direction. So I'm mindful of the concerns that folks have had, but I think unlike the Duke Energy Trail or whatever that is by Baycare Ballpark, the DOT has done a really good job marking it very visibly as a trail. When I got hit on the Duke Energy Trail, there was no crosswalk, there was no marking, and they had allowed at the stadium the vegetation to grow up and create a sight triangle blockage. And I think we've been pretty good about making sure that sight distance is cleared of any obstructions here. So are you going to continue to monitor this roadway and work with us to just make sure that there's not issues that are happening?
I actually get a chance to put it in this presentation, but we did a video recording, actually, a video detection of bicyclists that we're using on this. It was in end of July, and we noticed that there was one single day, 24 hours, we noted 157 bicyclists on this with 30 in an hour, just using this facility at Sands Point Drive, and now has a mid-block crosswalk there as well. So as the weather gets cooler, and now is a good time to ride, definitely try it out, but we expect to see more bicyclists using this as we get later in the year, and we will definitely continue to monitor. So.
Yeah, one more question on that front. So when you were monitoring, did you in those 157 bicyclists, did you have a number? Do you have a number that you remember where you had conflicts with cars coming out of the?
That was there. Yes, actually we did. It was actually video.
10 or 20 or.
It was actually video detection that we use, video technology to detect those potential what we call near misses. Yep. And we didn't see any. That will be something that will say, oh, we have a problem here. Okay. It was very, what the system detected as near miss, once you look at the video, there's still the same thing, as cars are actually waiting, and then they're finishing crossing.
As I get used to change, I hope to share your optimism on that one. But thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is the establishment of nominating committee discussion. Whit?
Sure, I will handle that. We are not having a December meeting, so for next year's slate of officers, we need to make a decision in November. And so we take the opportunity in October to see if the board would like to exercise one of its options, which is to form a nominating committee for the positions of chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. The other option that the board has is next month at your meeting to just vote from the dais and not form a nominating committee. I have spoken with the chair, and traditionally our chairs, first of all, they are all one-year terms, but traditionally we have given the chair and the executive committee a second year to serve, and Commissioner Long has indicated that she would like to have that year. It's her last year, I believe, on the county commission, and we did just appoint Mayor Bujalski as the vice chair, David Albritton as treasurer, and Gina Driscoll as secretary. So those are all new appointments we just made again last month. So Next year, I think we're definitely going to need a nominating committee. Staff recommendation is, it's up to you all what you would like to do, but I think if you'd like to not have the nominating committee, you certainly are within your means of doing that. So the only action we need today is whether you want to form a nominating committee.
Whit, can I add to that? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Feel free.
If the board wishes, they could honestly make that decision today as opposed to waiting to November. If they don't want to have a nominating committee and they want to make those elections today, they could.
That's a good point.
What are the wishes of the board? Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, I move approval of this slate for the calendar year of 2024. And, you know, we'll have, like you said, we'll have to form a nominating committee in the third or fourth quarter next year for the next 2 years. But I move that we have this for people that are in dark letter or dark or italicized, whatever, as the new slate. Bolden, how's that?
We have a second by Commissioner Scott.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And again, for the record, Madam Chair, there are no citizens who wish to speak on that item. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I'm sorry? Well, congratulations to everyone involved. With that said, how about the director's report? Whit?
All right, I'll be brief on this one. The spotlight update I have for you is that the Waterborne Transportation Committee, the last meeting, we were asked to meet with the Chambers of Commerce to figure out how to better engage the business community in the discussions with the cities thinking about expanding waterborne transportation. We had that meeting a little over a week ago with the St. Pete Chamber and the Beaches Area Chamber, and they gave us some good feedback and guidance on how we're to approach the cities. There is something called the Tampa Bay Water Ferry Alliance. I can't remember if that's the exact title, and the chambers are members of that, or at least the St. Pete Chamber is. And the main takeaway from there is that St. Pete is looking at bringing in Urban Land Institute panel to help advise them on the Cross Bay Ferry and further expansion and a permanent docking station for the Cross Bay Ferry. And the Beaches Area Chamber also wanted to have maybe a little bit more data and analysis supporting the demand for waterborne transportation, and recognize that in some cases at the local government level there has been a bit of a conflict between the business community and the residential community, and that they didn't feel that right now they would be very receptive to that, but if we had more data and analysis showing the linkage of waterborne transportation to other community goals, that might help. So we're going to continue to engage them. There is a potential that we might bring back to you a small task, work order to estimate the market demand for waterborne transportation. There is a firm that we've talked to that is doing that work across the country. They're based in the Puget Sound, Seattle area, and have a lot of experience with that. And we're going to think about that more and see if that's an approach we want to take. And of course, we'll bring that back to the board for discussion. The big news I want to announce, though, is that you may remember that we, with this board's approval, we agreed to submit a grant application to the Florida Department of Transportation for a service development grant for water ferry service. And the department let us know yesterday that we were awarded that grant, the full funding grant, for $655,000. It's a 3-year agreement, and that would be to cover operations for it. And we're going to have to rally the troops and coordinate on exactly how we need to structure that, because it's a 50-50 match, like all the transit service development grants. And it's flexible about how it can be used, but it's over a 3-year period. And Dunedin is beginning some negotiations with the Clearwater Ferry. The grant funds will go to PSTA because they applied for the grant funds, and we'll coordinate that work through the Waterborne Transportation Committee. So we've got a few moving parts. The grant is FY25, so beginning July 1st of 2024, we'll have those dollars available. And in the meantime, we need to figure out where the local match is going to come from. but that'll be a discussion we have with PSTA, with the cities, and with the county. And that's good news. That's on top of the state earmark of 1.2 million, I believe, that the Florida legislature put into the budget for the city of Clearwater. So there's an infusion of capital and now a little bit of an infusion in operating dollars. And the city of Clearwater already has an agreement with the Clearwater Ferry, and I believe they're already operating, right, under that agreement. So good news on that, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best.
Was that 650,000 each year or over?
It's a total amount, and it can be spread over 3 years, or it could be in 1 year.
Got it.
But I think it would probably be spread over 3 years, is my guess.
Thanks.
So I have a question.
Yes.
The Waterborne Transportation Committee has not met in a very long time. Is there an opportunity to meet and/or get an update?
Yeah, there is. We met in May, I believe, was the last time, and that's when we submitted the grant. So we now heard from the grant, and we were kind of on hold until that happened. So I think we'll try to get together early in the year.
Good.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
I probably do.
Of course you do.
Yes. The next item is the Pinellas Planning Council budget for '24. Just to let everybody know that the budget was approved as this board voted. There were no changes in the budget. We are anticipating a little bit of a different budget year next year. We may, want to pull back on some things next year, just kind of reading the room. But we are very pleased that the board approved our budget request without rolling back the millage this year. We are getting a little bit additional federal funds on the MPO side, so that could help offset any changes that may happen next year. And then the other point I wanted to mention, and I really don't know what to say about this, but maybe Tina or somebody can weigh in. We are having our Advantage Pinellas Participation Challenge. It's for the 2050 Long Range Plan. We showed you the website last month, and we are getting some really good feedback on that website. But Tina, do you want to elaborate on this for me?
I just wanted to alert the members of this board about an email communication that went out from me to each city. It went to your city managers and to your mayors requesting that each of the municipalities help us push out that information, since it is a 1 in 5 year opportunity to seek citizen input. Ford Pinellas staff is actively attending outreach events in all the local governments. We asked to be alerted to any events that might be advisable for us to attend to reach a large amount of citizens. But specifically, we were asking for help from your communications departments, and we didn't hear back from as many as I had hoped. So I wanted to alert this board to that and let them know to go back to your local governments and just remind your jurisdictions how important the long-range transportation plan is to the entire county. And we were asking to use your local websites to help push out the public participation challenge.
Thank you, Tina. That's all I have.
Any questions, comments? No?
I had a quick question. I should have asked you when I talked to you earlier on the phone and I forgot. Do you know when we're going to be transitioning to Granicus?
Transitioning what?
To Granicus. It's been in the works for, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years now.
Well, we've been kind of on hold for that because we had budget uncertainty for a while. So we haven't really done any action on that. So at this point, we're not doing that. If that's something that the board would like us to do, and that's a direction, we can certainly have that conversation.
Okay. Because we already had the direction. I didn't know that we undid that direction. Okay, would you get back with us and let us know what that cost is and all of that?
We can get back
Because,
to
I
you.
mean, we've already approved that direction. It's just, it makes it really difficult logging in and doing the things we do here. You know how bad the Wi-Fi and all is. And if it's Granicus, it's not that hard. And most of us are on Granicus.
We will probably need to make some adjustments in this board anyway if the governor approves our 19-member apportionment plan. So I would say that's probably the time we will want to do that. So let's see how that goes. That's okay. Yes.
Commissioner Driscoll?
Thank you. Do we have an update on that approval from the governor's office?
We have not. We've transmitted it, the resolution that you all passed, to the Florida Department of Transportation. It went to the Office of Policy Planning. They're going to coordinate with the governor's office and make sure it's in front of the governor. So it's in works, but I don't have a timeline for you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Burke.
Two things. Could I get clarification on Commissioner Eggers' comment earlier? Do I understand that Tampa and Hillsborough County voted against the regional MPO? Is that what you said?
No, they voted for it.
This, just to clarify, it was at the TMA Leadership Group meeting that we had on September 23rd, that there were 2 of the 3 representatives from the Hillsborough MPO voted against. But then I'm told this morning it was a unanimous vote in favor of the MOU itself.
Correct.
So I think at least one of the votes was because we took out that language relating to St. Petersburg and the largest city in Pasco County. And what's interesting is the largest city in Pasco County is Zephyr Hills, and they're not part of our urban area. So it would then fall to Newport Richey, I think. So there was just confusion about how a city the size of Newport Richey or even Zephyr Hills could put a stop to forming a regional MPO. Neither of them are 25,000 population.
Thank you for clarifying. And second thing, just is to say thank you to Commissioner Driscoll and PSTA from the City of Seminole and our students and businesses for sparing Route 58 and keeping that going. So we thank you for that.
Wait, just a clarification on that vote this morning are the 2 members that were at our TMA on that board? And
They
voted,
are.
and
they have to be on that MPO to be at the
They were
TMA.
there and they voted favorably?
I believe so. That's
Okay,
my
good.
intelligence.
Good. So when they get around their folks, maybe that's good. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I don't think so. You have some information items in your packet. The upcoming events, there is the MPO Advisory Council meeting in Auburndale on October 26th. Councilmember Buckman is going to be joining me. And then the TMA Leadership Group I've already mentioned, and the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance on December 1st.
Okay. Commissioner Driscoll, you had something?
Thank you. If I could make a quick add-on to my PSTA report, which I gave earlier and talked about the APTA conference, which is still going on. And this morning was a meeting and the awards given by the Florida Public Transportation Association. And I just got word since we've been meeting that PSTA has been awarded the FPTA's State of Florida Transit System of the Year award. So not only did we win best in the country for our size, but we've won best in the state. And I wanted to share that with you all in real time as we're hearing our transmittals from Orlando.
Something to be very
So-
proud of, that's for sure. Anyone else? For the good of the order? No one? Okay, then, we are adjourned. Very good meeting. Thank you.